The first time the house spoke to Sarah, it used her dead husband's voice. She was standing in the kitchen of the old Victorian on Marrow Lane, wrist deep in dishwater that had gone cold, when she heard it drift down the hallway, low and familiar, the same rasp that used to tease her about burning toast. "Sarah Bell," it said, drawing out the nickname only Mark had ever used. "Come upstairs. I've missed you." The plate slipped from her fingers and shattered on the tile. She didn't move to pick up the pieces. She stood frozen, suds sliding down her forearms, listening to the silence that rushed in afterward like floodwater. 37 days since the accident. 37 days since the state trooper knocked and told her the guardrail on Route 19 had failed and Mark's truck had rolled 4 times before the river took it. 37 days of sleeping in the guest room because their bed still smelled like his cologne. The voice did not repeat itself. When she finally climbed the stairs, legs shaking, the second-floor hallway was empty, moonlight cutting silver bars across the runner rug. Every door was closed the way she had left them. She pressed her ear to the master bedroom door and heard nothing except her own pulse. Still, she slept on the sofa that night, television flickering blue across her face until dawn. People in town said the house on Marrow Lane had always been wrong. Built in 1893 by a surgeon named Elias Crow who vanished the same week his wife and 3 daughters did. The cellar still had the iron operating table bolted to the floor, rings welded into each corner. Every family that lived there afterward left faster than the one before. Some claimed illness, some bankruptcy, some simply packed in the night and never came back for their mail. When Sarah and Mark bought it 2 years earlier, the realtor had knocked $12,000 off the asking price and smiled like a man unloading a cursed object. They had laughed about it. They were young, newly married, and the house was beautiful in its decay, 12-foot ceilings, stained glass transoms, widow's walk looking over the pines. Mark promised they would fix the peeling wallpaper and the groaning pipes together. They never got the chance. After the voice, Sarah started hearing other things. Footsteps crossing the attic when she was the only one home. Water running in the upstairs bathroom long after she'd turned it off. Once, she found the medicine cabinet open and all the prescription bottles arranged in a perfect circle on the vanity, labels facing outward like they were waiting for inspection. She told herself it was grief. She told herself it was exhaustion. She told herself a lot of things until the night the knocking started. It came from inside the walls. 3 measured knocks, pause, 3 more. Always at 3:14 a.m. She timed it with the bedside clock. The sound moved. One night it was behind the headboard. The next it was under the kitchen floorboards. The third night it came from the hallway closet. She opened the door with a butcher knife in her hand and found only coats and Christmas ornaments swaying as if someone had just brushed past them. She called her sister in Pittsburgh. "You need to get out of that house," Claire said. "I can't. It's all I have left of him. It's a pile of bricks, Sarah. Mark is gone." But the house felt alive in a way that made leaving seem impossible, like abandoning a sick animal that only trusted her. And some nights, when the wind moved through the eaves, she swore she heard Mark humming the song they danced to at their wedding. She started talking back to the empty rooms. Little things at first. "Good morning. I miss you." Then longer conversations while she cooked dinner for one, setting a second plate at the table out of habit. On the 40th night, the knocking stopped. In its place came the smell, sweet and metallic, like pennies left in the rain. It started in the cellar and crept upward through the floor vents. Sarah found the operating table down there slick with something dark fluid that hadn't been there the day before. She scrubbed until her fingers bled, but the stains rose again by morning like bruises under the skin of the house. She began sleeping with the lights on. She bought sage and burned it in every room until the smoke alarm screamed. She called a priest from the little Lutheran church on Sycamore Street. He stood in the foyer clutching his Bible and looking pale. "I don't sense anything demonic," he said carefully. "But this building is unsettled. Some places remember too much." He left a bottle of holy water on the porch and never came back. Winter arrived early that year. Snow sealed the long driveway and turned Marrow Lane into a white tunnel. Sarah lost her job at the library after too many sick days. She told herself she would leave in spring, when the roads cleared and the for sale sign wouldn't freeze to the post. Until then she wandered the house in Mark's old flannel shirts, drinking coffee gone cold, watching frost feathers grow across the windows. One January night the power went out. The furnace died with a cough, and the temperature inside dropped fast. Sarah lit candles and dragged blankets downstairs. She was curled on the sofa under 3 quilts when she heard the front door open and close. Slow footsteps crossed the foyer. Boots, heavy, a man's stride. She sat up, heart hammering. "Mark," she whispered. The footsteps climbed the stairs, each one deliberate. She followed, candle trembling in her hand. Wax spilled over her knuckles but she barely felt the burn. At the top of the landing she saw him, or what looked like him, standing at the end of the hallway in the same red parka he'd worn the morning he died. Snow melted from his boots onto the rug. His back was to her. "Mark," she said again, louder. He turned. The face was wrong. Too pale, too smooth, like wax left near a flame. Eyes were black from lid to lid, no whites at all. He opened his mouth and something long and dark slid over his bottom lip before retreating again. Sarah screamed. The candle went out. When she found the light switch, the hallway was empty except for wet boot prints leading into the master bedroom. She slept in her car that night, engine running, heater blasting, too afraid to go back inside even for her coat. At dawn she called a paranormal group from Erie. 3 college kids with EMF meters and infrared cameras. They spent 6 hours in the house and left looking sick. "We caught some things," the girl with purple hair said. "EVPs. Shadow figures. Whatever's here, it's strong. And it's hungry." "Hungry for what?" The girl glanced at her friends. They offered to come back with a medium, but Sarah sent them away. She didn't want strangers in Mark's house. She wanted answers. She started digging through the attic herself. Behind a false panel in the chimney she found Elias Crow's journals, leather covers soft with mold. Page after page of cramped handwriting detailing experiments he'd performed in the cellar. Not surgery. Something worse. He wrote about opening doors. About bargains. About feeding the house so it would keep his family alive inside its walls forever. The last entry was dated the day he disappeared. "It only needs one more," he wrote. "Then we can all be together. The house is almost ready." Sarah read until the words blurred. She understood now why every family left, why children woke screaming about a man with no eyes, why pets refused to cross certain thresholds. The house wasn't haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by something that wore ghosts. That night she packed a single bag. She would drive to Claire's at first light and never come back. She laid the bag by the door and went to the kitchen for one last cup of coffee. The machine hissed and gurgled. When it finished she turned and saw Mark sitting at the table. He looked perfect this time. The same crooked smile, the same scar through his left eyebrow from a high school hockey fight. He even smelled like the cedar soap he loved. "You're leaving," he said. His voice was warm, real. "I have to." He reached across the table and took her hand. His skin was cold but not freezing. "I don't want you to go. I'm scared, Mark." "I know. But it's almost over." He squeezed her fingers. "Stay one more night. For me." She should have run. Every instinct told her to run. But it was Mark, and she had missed him so much her bones ached with it. She let him lead her upstairs. He kissed her forehead the way he always had, thumb brushing her cheek. They lay down fully clothed on top of the covers. He wrapped his arms around her from behind and whispered that everything would be all right. Sarah woke to darkness and the smell of wet earth. She was no longer in the bedroom. She was deep underground, packed in tight, walls pulsing softly around her like muscle. Something long and thin stroked her hair. Mark's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "We can be together now," it said, delighted. "The house is complete." She tried to scream but there was no air, only the slow, patient pressure closing in. Far above, in the locked and empty Victorian, the for sale sign snapped in the wind and snow kept falling, erasing the tire tracks that led away from Marrow Lane and never came back. In spring, when the roads cleared, a young couple from Philadelphia would fall in love with the stained glass and pocket doors. They would laugh about ghost stories and outbid 2 other offers. The realtor would knock $15,000 off the asking price and smile the same desperate smile. Some houses remember too much. And some houses never forget what they're owed.